Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of Boston Borough Council's Corporate and Community Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I'm Paul Gleeson, and I am chairing the committee today, and with me is Councillor Susan Wellsbury, who is my Vice Chair. Firstly, our housekeeping rules are as follows. Restroom facilities are available for the ladies on this floor and for the gentlemen halfway down the main stairwell. In the event of a fire alarm, officers will escort everyone to the fire point in the car park. This meeting is being streamed live, and as such, please may I ask all people to use the microphones when addressing the committee. Please be advised that abuse or intimidation of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who is deemed to breach this requirement will be warned and asked to refrain. And if this behaviour persists, they will be asked to leave the meeting. We now move to part 1 of the agenda. To receive apologies for absence and notice of substitutions, if any.
Thank you, Chairman. We have one apology for absence this evening. Councillor Stuart Evans, no substitute member. Thank you.
Thank you. To sign the minutes of the previous meeting. Does everybody agree? Thank you. To receive any declarations of interest in respect of any item on this agenda. Does any member have any interest to declare? Councillor Pierpoint.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say that I'm actually on the steering committee for the Town Centre Strategy Action Plan. So I just sort of mention that before the meeting starts. Thank you.
To receive any written questions from members of the public.
No questions, Chairman.
Thank you. This concludes the preliminary items. Our first item this evening is the South and East Lincolnshire Council's Partnership Customer Experience Strategy, which is on page 7 of the agenda. And this report will be presented by the portfolio holder, Councillor Dale Broughton, who is supported by Emily Spicer, our Assistant Director for Wellbeing and Community Leadership, and Roxanne Warwick, our Strategic Lead for Healthy Living. Councillor Broughton.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chairman and fellow councillors. As a council and as a partnership, we are committed to providing a customer experience that is simple, effective and customer focused and ensure people can access the many services that are offered. One of the key principles to achieving this vision is to understand our communities and customers and how they change to inform the way we perform and service both now and in the future. The report presents South and East Lincolnshire Council Partnership's first customer experience strategy as attached at Appendix A, which sets out the vision, principles and approach for customer experience across the councils, working together to offer clear and consistent experience. The strategy sets out 3 key outcomes we are seeking over the next 4 years to achieve this. An organisational culture that is customer focused, a simple, effective and positive customer experience, support that meets our customer needs. Success will be monitored through the South and East Lincolnshire Council's Partnership Customer Experience Board, who will have oversight of the strategy and work collaboratively to enable effective strategic decision, direction and coordination of delivery. This evening, the committee are invited to consider the document and offer comments to help shape it ahead of proceeding to each council's cabinet for adoption. First, I would like to hand over to Roxanne Warwick to run you through the background, context and development of the strategy.
Thank you. My name's Roxanne Warwick. I work as the Healthy Living Strategic Lead across South and East Lincolnshire Partnership. I'm not in customer service, and I'd just like to give you a little bit of background just to articulate really why this is much more than customer service. This is around all the people and the communities that we serve. The next slide. So just a little bit of background, what is customer experience? We have put this in the document, but the intentions of this document are really around about how people feel when they interact with Boston Borough Council. And that's just not just customer service, it's an interaction with all employees and partners. I don't deliver public facing, but I work with a lot of charities, for example, and members and colleagues, so they're my customers. This customer experience is, it's not static, it's continually changing, and a good approach to customer experience can prevent some interactions from occurring to help sort of manage demand and manage expectation. And we also know that how people want to access services is changing. Customers want to help themselves where possible. They want to self-serve at the time of day that they want to serve, and they want to know when people, services are open to them or when they can be expected to be responded to via emails. So that's a little bit of the background as why. Also, just bear in mind, this is the first South and East Lincolnshire Council Partnership Customer Experience Strategy. So really one of the main intentions for this document is to provide that that the three councils are working together to offer that clear and consistent approach. And that's the kind of strapline that we've taken for the document, and really is kind of the ethos of this work. So when we talk about our customers, we really mean our people. It could be residents, it could be businesses, it could be staff partners of the council, different government departments or different local authorities across the East Midlands. And every service, and we have a huge array of services in the council, will have different meaning of the word customers. And this document and this strategy and emerging action plan won't just be delivered by our PSPS customer facing colleagues. The intention is that all services adopt this, think about their customers and how they can take a better approach to support them. So for the purposes of this document, our customers are anyone who lives, works or visits the region or engages with us for any purpose, and really just show that the area is open for business. We have a point of reference and some accountability. A quick whip through why strategy. I think I've touched on this, but our society is changing. The way we communicate changes. As a team, we were reflecting on our experiences of banking. We used to want to walk into a bank. Now we want to access it at 10 o'clock at night. We want an instant response. As society changes and digital technology moves on, people have different expectations of services. The strategy document will also help improve that customer trust and demonstrate value. And I do want to talk a bit about value, because not only is it very frustrating for people chasing up contacts or finding out when they can find a decision from the council, it's costly for the council to continually, serving people numerous times on the same issue. So it is about value as well. A good approach really is preventative as well. We work a lot in prevention in the Healthy Living team, and the right information at the right time up front can prevent needs getting worse and frustrations escalating. And I think, as mentioned as well there, that this demonstrates the three councils working together for that consistency. It wouldn't be a strategy document without recognising the challenges. We are an increasingly diverse community across the three council sub-region. We have got large population growth, particularly in Boston. The last census showed that Boston had one of the highest rates of increasing population in the country. So there is a lot greater demand than ever before, and people expect more of their public services than ever before. We do know we have an ageing population, and this can increase dependency, maybe more additional work and support for more vulnerable residents. And so part of the challenge is making sure that all transactional support that can be done online, that can be the answers on the website, that can be self-serve, is as efficient as possible to leave us the sort of capacity and staff time to help the more vulnerable residents. And the strategy document is the first time we've pulled together all the figures for the three council areas, and just to show the breadth of our customer base and the population we're serving. That's 307,000, over 307,000 residents. I have got a little bit of the Boston that stats as well. You're actually the youngest of the three council areas, with an average age of 46 in Boston, particularly young demographic, actually, it's showing in the last census. You serve 29,400 households, and you have 70,503 residents, according to the last census. But we know that that continues to increase. And again, I'm a real data geek for those that haven't worked with me before. I'm happy to pick up any questions, or if you'd like to email me directly, if there's any specific details around the local census that you'd like to know about. So engagement so far. This document didn't just come out of mine and Emily's head. We are part of the Customer Experience Board. And so this document in front of you is a kind of distillation of people's ideas from the Customer Experience Board about what the document should contain. The current version is a draft version. It's our working version 7, believe it or not. And you know, it is not a signed and sealed deal. If you are really open today for your feedback and comments to help shape the documents. We agreed with the principles with the Customer Experience Board, with the intentions to reduce that duplication and seek consistency across 3 organisations. We've then presented it to our corporate management team in about April time, and we've involved our colleagues in PSPS that are often the front-facing side of our services too. And from there, we did some stakeholder feedback, and I'd describe it as critical friend sessions. We invited people to have a flick through the working copy, talk to us about what their view of it was, and sort of a critical friend with some of our community support network. And these are a few comments from them so far. People felt it was very useful to have a point of reference to be accountable. There was some feedback internally that potentially this was a bit ambitious and risk of promising too much. But as a customer experience board, we really feel that, you know, why have a strategy? Why not be ambitious? A strategy should be about an ambition and a vision. And also that difference of what we mean by customer. We had some feedback that they assumed it'd be a customer service document, but this is much more about the experience from all colleagues and teams. I would just add that this is the 3rd council scrutiny meeting we have presented this draft at. The document you see in front of you going to have some more edits based on those, and any feedback today will be included in the final version back to the graphic designer. And this document hasn't been presented to any of the cabinets or executive boards yet. So this is the vision that we are all working towards. Your customer experience with the South and East Lincolnshire Council's partnership will be simple, effective and people focused. That's how the vision, that's where we're at, that's what we've agreed as a customer experience board. I wasn't expecting that slide to be there. So it's in your draft strategies there. That very much this is about how you feel. So we have aligned it to quite a large piece of internal work when the 3 councils came together around our values and behaviours. You've seen this graphic around the building. I've seen it in various posters and doorways, and yeah, really aligned to that. So the outcomes will be aligned to our values and behaviours. We're seeking those consistent standards. We will embrace digital technology, and the digital strategy does sit alongside and working with this document. We have knowledgeable staff and a customer-focused culture. So the 3 strategic outcomes we're seeking are on the screen there: an organisational culture that is people-focused, the simple and effective experience, and support to meet our customers' needs. There are a few additional sort of objectives that are falling into the action plan that's currently being agreed by the Customer Experience Board. We have had discussions about how we're going to monitor success of this as well. And we're nearly there on agreeing the performance measures with our colleagues in the performance team for this. But it's very much sort of monitoring and asking colleagues from across all the different teams and services what they're doing to meet the outcomes we've presented today. So that's just a little bit about the background and the current position. I'm happy to hand back over to the councillor or welcome your comments or feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne, for that. I'm more than happy to take on any feedback or questions. If I can't answer, I'm sure one of my two colleagues will be able to.
Thank you. Does anybody first have any questions, and then we'll have discussion? So, Councillor Pierpoint.
Yes, interesting. My question is, how are you going to get everybody across the whole of the organisation to work to the same level of providing that customer service and that customer experience? Because you've got a big task here. I spent 30, 40 years in customer service and dealing with customers. And, you know, there's different levels of customer expectation, different levels of service. I know it's a draft document, but what's behind the way you're going to roll this out to all the people who work in this organisation, that they're all working at the same level and output that you're expecting?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Gleeson, and thank you, Councillor Pierpoint, for that excellent question, because it is certainly going to be a challenge, but we're very much up for that challenge. Now, what we are hoping to do is the word fell out of my head, a step-by-step position in terms of activities that we will work through on this customer experience strategy. For example, our first activity that we would like to tackle is our standards that we are advising our customers. So the time that it takes us back to get our the time it takes for us to get back on inquiries and concerns, complaints, issues. They at the moment are very diverse across the three organisations that I work for. They are very diverse across even Boston Borough Council as an organisation. So it's actually looking at those and aligning them. So it's an incremental, incremental, that's the word, apologies. It's an incremental approach that we will be taking. Now, my colleague here, Roxanne, talked about the customer experience board that this strategy feeds into. Now, the outcomes that Roxanne has talked about, underneath them, an action plan will be sitting underneath those outcomes to help drive through that change. So as I say, this will be a step-by-step plan. It's not going to be something that's going to be achieved overnight, certainly, but it will be something that we move towards and together as we progress through the time of this strategy. So it's not a big bang, but it will be small, important actions that teams will take to align our consistent approach. Thank you.
Can I come back on that one?
Yes.
Right, I hear what you're saying. I think one of the failings of this report and strategy is, where's the people out there on your board? Because at the end of the day, they're the customers. At the moment, all the board consists of is people with the same mindset, from the same organisation, all thinking the same, all having the same sort of attitude towards it. Get some of the customers out there, bring them onto the board and let them give you the feedback, and they'll give you the real experiences they've actually taken in consideration. Your board is all one set of people. And the customers are the people out there that I would invite, some of them, to become part of this board, to give you the customer experience that they're experiencing, not what you're telling people they should be experiencing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. You can just answer. You'd have to keep going through this.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Absolutely agree. Having customer engagement and customer their experiences, telling us what they like, telling us what they don't like, telling us what we should be doing differently, is absolutely fundamental in terms of moving forward in these activities. And we absolutely ensure we will be doing, you can rest assured we will be doing that. So whether they attend the board, whether people are invited, but we will be absolutely coming up with a strategy that ensures that we consult, we ask for informally, formally, whatever it may be, but absolutely the person, the customer needs to come at the centre of this strategy, and that's what we intend to do through their voices.
And that needs to be in your document then, because it's not in the document. It's not there.
Thank you.
You're saying it, but it's not in the document. So that needs to be a part of that strategy of getting those people into those meetings and giving you the feedback and giving you their customer experiences. Thank you.
Well, and again, part of our process is to come to the scrutinies of the different organisations to get feedback from yourselves to ensure that this document is the best it possibly can be before it goes to its final draft. We're on version 7 at the moment. We're very happy to take all feedback that we receive. So thank you very much. And I'm sure that will be featuring in our strategy as we move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Leach.
If it's okay, if I can
Yeah.
come in on the first point in terms of how will we get everybody to actually sign up to this document. I think it's important that it's member led. We get consistency across the local authorities in signing up to this engagement piece, this engagement strategy. And then we will follow a golden thread through our senior leadership team, our directorate team, our divisional teams, our service areas, our individual team meetings, right down to that kind of person-centered approach and the one-to-ones that take place between manager and personnel. So it's about ensuring we've got a consistent framework, something that everyone signs up to, and then we have follow that golden thread through. And you're absolutely right. Having customers as very much part of that, co-producing it with customers is a key message, which we absolutely need to make sure is subsumed into the preparation of this document. So thank you.
Councillor Richard Austin, then Councillor Helen Staples and Councillor Jyoti Arabat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, the foreign national size of the foreign national community is a big issue in this discussion. Can you just expand on issues that you've come across and how that you're going to be tackling them?
Yeah, recognise as the strategy is that, you know, a diverse community, and we do understand at the Customer Experience Board that we will need to look at the sort of language provision and the translation available.
Yeah.
It's a big issue, I think, and a difficult one, I can imagine.
Councillor Staples.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think picking up on something Councillor Pierpoint mentioned, you must consult with and have on your board people who are non-councillors or non-members, whatever, and there must be also all age groups, because we have got a very diverse population here in Boston, and I think the older people and disabled people feel sadly neglected, and they sometimes find it difficult with the digital age and everything, and I think they must be respected and their needs must be met and heard. Thank you.
Councillor Arabat.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I'm not entirely sure whether this is the correct question, but when you talk about, I mean, this is pretty much based on what Councillor Pierpoint raised originally. In terms of having feedback, in terms of having customer experience, how are you going to do around the health aspect? I know that it's a joint position with the County Council. We share quite a lot of health provisions, and also with the voluntary organizations. I was recently working as a consultant psychiatrist in Boston, and I was almost doing a kind of a rough survey amongst my patients, and the feedback I received was quite appalling, because people were not aware of some of the provisions, and I was not aware of some of the provisions, and I was asked to contact the council when I was asking about some of the things which were in place. So I was asked, you know, you should contact the council if you have any doubt, and I was kind of saying that I am council. And if I were in that position, I was just mindful that, you know, what about my patients who are, like Helen mentioned, so if you are elderly, disabled, if you're not able to kind of communicate their needs, so where would you be actually? And in terms of voluntary organization, I go for the meetings with the center point outreach. And again, it's the same thing. People are not really aware what is out there, what are the provisions, and how much of the issues are issues and how much of it is actually the county council issues. And one of my fellow Councillor Welbury was actually saying that there was an issue about the fluorination of water. And Boston, they just decided that Boston was not going to get that. And I'm kind of mindful that this would actually amount to health inequality. And what is the council going to do about it? Our strategy. What is our strategy regarding that? I know it's a long wind-up question, but thank you.
No, that's it.
Thank you. So I think some of your question, forgive me if I'm not, I think some of your question is around how do we ensure that members of our community are aware of where they need to land, where they need to ask the questions, how are they aware of all the connections with people, and how do we get that message out strongly and importantly so people don't actually have to go around and find out those questions themselves? Is that a little bit of your question? Well, this absolutely will be supported by that customer experience strategy because we appreciate that a number of our residents will want to get their information from our website. So, for example, our website needs to ensure that it's got all those signposting links, it's got all the correct information. We're linking into all the partnerships and the people, whether it's county or whether it's the health sector, etc., etc. We need our websites to really sing all the important things that we're doing and how we're working with others. Now, appreciating that not everyone wants to use the website, so we need to ensure that our customer contact centre is really robust in terms of some of the information and signposting it has. Our officers are very much up to speed in terms of some of that signposting themselves, but vice versa back to our partners. So we need to make sure our partners understand what we're doing. And you mentioned outreach was Centrepoint, which is an absolutely fabulous organisation. But again, it's making sure that they're up to date with how they connect back into us. So again, not an easy challenge, but I think, again, going back to my steps, it's starting at the first point of like, well, what's on our website? How can we make sure that suits our customers to where they are? Again, it's asking our customers, does it meet your needs? Will it meet your needs? What else is needing to be there?
Sorry, my question was before the website level, before, for example, I'm a Boston resident and I've absolutely no idea what is available. And I was a consultant and then I didn't know what was available. So it was, I think before we actually advertise onto the website, the actual provision, what is there to kind of be advertised? What do we actually do? Kind of, the provision, the service provision is what. So for example, I'll be quick. I left LPFT, the place I was working in 2016. And since then, a lot of services have been cut. A lot of consultants were kind of, removed, and a lot of service provision changes happened. And those things were not actually accounted for, and they just change it, and those things were never accounted for. So I go back and instead of having 20-odd doctors, we just have 2 or 3 doctors now. So how did that happen? So, and again, some of the service provisions, you don't have that service, you don't have this service. So what actually happened to that service? What happened to the community psychiatric nurses?
Councillor Jyoti, whilst I understand what you're saying, I'm not too sure it's relevant to actually this part of the report. I accept it's an issue we need to look at, but I don't think it's something that would come under the scope of this report.
No, but how do you actually feedback on these things?
Yeah, no, I think that's an issue for this. Yes, how do we get information from the bottom up.
Because the
get something hungry
so-called
to talk about it.
customers, how
Yeah.
do people actually tell the council that this has been happening?
Yeah, no, I can see that side of it, but yeah. No, thank you. Councillor Pierpoint. Oh, sorry.
If I could just
Oh, sorry, yes.
if I
Councillor
could just
Danny.
respond to that point about getting information out, and you talked about some more excluded groups, potentially older residents, disabled residents, people with mental health conditions. We are very strong partners with our primary care network and our LPFT transformation teams. I've been looking to spend the day with health colleagues at the Princess Royal Arena with over 200 people from health, social care and voluntary sector today. And actually it's those sort of local community-based partnerships that's absolutely the best way to get messages out to people. You're right, some people don't want to approach the council for help, but we have to work with our partners to get those messages out. In Boston, we do have an established community leaders network, which was established during the COVID response to get some of the public health messaging out, and we've maintained that network as another way of getting messages, information, signposting, support, whatever it is, through the community.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just to try to further help, within the document itself, there's a section that covers measuring success, and it sets out 3 outcomes. So in terms of what's being asked tonight is, do you agree with those outcomes? Are they the kind of key principles that you sign up to in terms of reaching people, the customers, your constituents? So outcome 1, an organisational culture that is people focused. I won't go through how this will be achieved, but to answer your question, there are a number of bullet points that say how that outcome will be achieved. Outcome 2, a simple, effective and positive customer experience. And again, if you agree with that kind of approach, there's also a number of bullet points that say how that will be achieved. And then outcome 3, support that meets our customers' needs. And again, a number of bullet points that cover how that will be achieved. It's a question for this committee, really. Do you agree they're the right kind of principles, the right kind of outcomes? And do you agree with the kind of methods, the ways that the local authority is seeking to reach people? So I hope that helps a little bit.
Right, Councillor Danny, then Councillor Pierpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You can go ahead.
Jyoti, can you turn your microphone off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a first question. You say step by step. Do you have a time frame for that?
Thank you. The action plan that I spoke about earlier will have key deliverables within that for each activity. And obviously the life of the strategy is the next 4 years. So we would look to achieve a series of actions and points in that time. And as John has helpfully identified, a lot of those activities I think you can derive from the document underneath each outcome, and that's on page 14 of the document.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Most of the complaints I have been met with in Boston is mostly from the elderly people. And most of these people, they cannot have access to internet. And some of them, they live by themselves. So I think the best way to deliver a message is face to face. And I think they don't find it probably here most of the time in our council. It's a complaint. So for me, this is a concern, how we can reach to these people. That's one thing. Secondly, I think as Councillor Pierpoint said, he worked in hospital for 30 to 40 years, so he's extra 10 years than me. I worked for 30 years in hospitality. And I do believe when you check all the time with your customers, you will find out always something different. It's not always the same. And in Boston, I think one of our best probably, or our pièce de résistance is the marketplace. I would like to see you probably sending there on Wednesday or Saturday and talking to the people face to face, and you may get some feedback. That's one thing. The second thing is the EU members. We have to bear in mind that, we have a diverse population. To get engaged with them, there is probably a ways. It's through their shops or through their places where they send the money transfers, letting agencies. So that could be a good point for you guys to start from, because that will give you another feedback. So my concern, as I said, and I state, the elderly people, how we can reach to them, because they're not very happy. That's one thing. Secondly, I had one complaint, which is, I will share it with you. A gentleman during the lockdown COVID, he got 3 bills to pay. It was nothing saying for what. There's no information. It's just £10, £134, I think, and something else. But there is a phone number there to call. He called the phone number, it doesn't exist. And that's coming from Boston Borough Council. So that's raising again another issue. How adequate are our services? And another thing which is I will touch on, which is I think people when they answer as well the phone. I mean, we learn when we take bookings, we have to smile on the phone, so it makes you more happy and you deliver better message than just yes, what, oh. So some people they get intimidated. This is the issues that I would like you to tackle, and I will be very happy to help with any other comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Pierpoint,
Can I just come into that?
Yes.
I'd just like to address a couple of points, Councillor Downey. The marketplace is definitely something we are going to be looking at, not just with this, but also with the next item, the town centre strategy, to communicate with the people of Boston. And also, going back to your COVID question, that was actually 3 years ago now. So obviously, I've only just come onto the council, as you well know, but I'm sure my colleagues will vouch for this, that things have improved since then quite drastically, and also this document will improve them even more. I'm sure somebody will.
Thank you, Councillor Broughton. We are here just to help and work together for the best for our residents. That's what we are here. There's nothing else. Thank you.
Councillor Pierpoint, then Councillor Welbury.
Thank you, Chairman. Right, going on to this outcomes number 2, we have a bullet point here that says we will say sorry if we get things wrong and put it right quickly. To me, that's not a very strong statement for a good customer service or a good customer complaint. I would like to know, are we going to go beyond the customer expectation and give them more than what they're expecting? Are we going to log and monitor all their complaints? Are we going to look at the success rate of turning those complaints from a negative into a positive? And how many customer satisfaction reports are we going to see in the future where we've had 1,000 complaints and 800 of them were actually satisfied correctly and 200 weren't finished off? That's the sort of thing I'd be looking for. So that statement there isn't strong enough for me. We will say sorry if we get things wrong, put it right. Well, that's not very good for a customer service. I'm not being funny. The customer is king. Let's remember that. They are people there that keep us in the job. They're the people that want to use these services. So they're our king. They're important. They're much stronger than what that line says there. That's not good enough in my view. So I want to know is from there, when we get complaints, and I'm looking on your chart, which is a nice little chart in a year, going to that one, it doesn't say how many customer complaints you've dealt with in a year, and doesn't say how many you've actually converted in from a negative to a positive, or you actually satisfied the customers. And that should be in that chart somewhere, because I can measure and look at the success of your customer service operations by the number of complaints you've had, how many you've satisfied and sorted out. And I can see then you've had 1,000 complaints, 800 were great and 200 you couldn't sort out. That's what I'd like to see in that chart, along with all those other nice things you've put. So that's 2 things. The third thing is, I don't have a lot of faith in PSPS, so I hope they're going to get trained on customer service and customer care, because I'm not very enamored by what they do, to be honest. So there's 3 things there that I think you need looking at in great detail. And as I say, I've been in customer service for 30 odd years. Thank you.
Yeah, to come back to a couple of your points, Councillor Pierpoint, regarding the complaints, I've seen a document this week where the complaints number, we've actually got a 99% satisfaction rate with the complaints that we've had and we've turned around. Well, I've only seen that on Tuesday this week. So obviously we can include that. I agree with what you're saying. We will say sorry is not strong enough. I totally agree with you there. As for the PSPS, I'm sure Emily or Roxanne will back me up and go further on this. The customer service side of PSPS is obviously going to be the front-facing people. So obviously if their standards are not good enough, they will have to be upped and trained to this document to make them better people and also create the better experience, which is what we want in the first place.
Thank you. Councillor Welbury.
Thank you, Chairman. I've just got a couple of quick questions. Looking at the in a year chart, it says 5,741 customer service face-to-face contacts. What is that? What is classed as a customer face contact? Because it seems very low.
Thank you. That's people walking into the council offices at Boston or Spalding or in Tedder Hall. It's now Horncastle, but that's people literally walking in and having face-to-face support.
So that's not pre-booked appointments.
It could include pre-booked appointments, but it's more likely that it's walk-ins.
Well, following on from Councillor Danny and Councillor Staples and Councillor Pierpoint, and the fact that we've got quite an ageing population who probably do need support face-to-face, that seems to me extremely low. And my worry is that it will get lower because people will not understand where the service is coming from and will feel that they're not welcome to come. And I think that should be increased when you've got 25% of the population that's over 65. They are the people that need a face-to-face. So the ratio of elderly people to face-to-face appointments seems woefully inadequate at the moment. And sorry, the second thing is, what professionalism is there for the face-to-face? You know, what professional people do you have in place? What qualifications do advisors have? Are they people that can actually scale it up, or are they just note takers that say, oh, we'll get back to you? Because this adds, you know, people get frustrated when they don't get an answer, especially older people.
Well,
Yeah.
if I may take your points. So part of the reason why we want to do this customer experience strategy is around actually helping those that can. So people that want to access our information by website, we want to make sure that that's really slick, that that's you know, the information is there at their fingertips. They can be at home watching television while they're accessing information. They do not need to make additional journeys in or spend time on the telephone getting information that should and could be on our internet. That, to me, makes that process far more efficient and allows people that truly need that face-to-face provision to be able to get that where they want it. So for me, this is around efficiency. There are a good many people that we absolutely know will never actually want to speak to us. They will never want to have any they want to talk to us because they're very happy understanding what they can get access to, and they will be happy getting that information by social media or on the website. So for me, this is absolutely about helping those that can do it themselves, but making sure the provision is right for absolutely the people that you talk about on the first piece of your question. The second piece, I will have to speak to, Amy Howsam, who is our head of customer services. She will do a number of pieces of training with her colleagues in the customer services contact centre every year, but I'm more than happy to speak to her in terms of what qualifications and what details that they have. But they will be the frontline staff. So, but there'll be other officers from Boston Borough Council and other organisations that perhaps have that face-to-face as well with those, which will be a mixture of qualifications. But very happy to have further conversations to get a few more answers to that question.
Yes, and also if you could have a conversation about waiting times, how long people actually have to wait to be seen. Is there a big queue going around the block waiting for the two people that will be able to advise them? As I say, I still think it's woefully low when you look at the amount of the population that are over 65. And my second question is, it's a very wordy document. Yeah, you know, it takes some getting through. What are your plans to praise it? Are you having an A3 poster? Have you got a marketing campaign already? Or is that something that's further down the line? Because to wade through this is quite a lot, isn't it, really?
We have made the document a stripped back and as plain English. I say version 7. I think the first draft was about 30 pages long. So we have culled it considerably. But I absolutely take your feedback that actually when we talk to the public about it, just want a one-page snapshot of what we're trying to do. So happy that.
Yeah, up in doctors' surgeries and places like that.
Yeah, could I just pick up on the over 65s digital use? So digital inclusion falls right in my remit in the South and East Lincolnshire Council's partnership work as part of our healthy living, health and wellbeing strategy. I do understand that there hasn't been much in Boston around digital inclusion support, but we do across East Lindsey and other parts of Lincolnshire work with some a local digital inclusion charity, and I'm looking to sort of roll that provision across the borough locally as well. So it's a bit of myth busting as well. The ONS figures, that's the Office of National Statistics, do reports on digital use, and over 65s is the biggest increase in digital use. So we can't just make assumptions around those older people. Sometimes they just need a bit of confidence to get them online or help to access and understand their devices. And that's some of the work we're looking forward to getting underway in Boston.
Councillor Marston.
Thank you. I sort of agree with that, but then I really don't agree with it as well, because I know that basically my mum's age, she's petrified of anything, even a telephone, a phone. She looks at it and she's scared of pressing the wrong button, so she uses the house phone because she's frightened of her mobile. Could it not be done more simple, just in the old-fashioned way, leaflets with all the contact numbers for all certain age groups, certain needs, and maybe on the radio, just something on Endeavour Radio, because a lot of the elderly listen to the radio. And, you know, during the day, and they could pick up that number. If they hear it every day for a week, they'll know who to ring, won't they? It's just simple ways. Thank you.
Councillor Staples.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, picking up really what Councillor Welber is saying, these figures do seem very low. And, you know, I run a community group where the majority of people who attend are 70 plus. And if some of them were here tonight, I think they would absolutely tear this document to bits. You know, I don't wish to be rude or unkind. You know, you know, I don't think you've reached out to these people and understand how they tick. They don't want to be digital. They'll never be digital. They are absolutely petrified of it. They're terrified now of turning the central heating on because of the huge bills. There's so much fear out there, and you need to engage with that. You need to engage with these groups and listen to what they say. And I don't think that, you know, you are doing. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we do really appreciate all this feedback. This is a document that we want to make sure is right, and it feels right, and it actually makes a difference. So I just wanted to say that to start with. What I would say is part of what we've talked about performance metrics. We've already talked about making sure we've got that real intrinsic engagement with our communities. So absolutely taking on your feedback. We want to ask questions to different groups and understand some of the challenges. Now, one of the ideas around some of the performance indicators and performance metrics so how do we know that we've been successful with this strategy? We have talked around whether we survey people, whether we ask series of questions. So we would be very, very keen to work with members and actually go to some of these groups and ensure and understand.
We
so
would welcome you.
We would absolutely welcome that as well. So again, very happy to take on that feedback and make sure that this is as robust as it possibly can.
Thank you.
Councillor Pierpoint, then Councillor Arian-Bath, then Councillor Danny.
Thank you, Chairman. I just think personally, I mean, a document I think is very interesting. I think it's very informative, and I have to say, well presented, well done. I think the way this is going to shape up, if you have a customer forum and invite 50 people from the community, whether they're 5 to 95, and get the age range across there, incentivize them to come and spend an hour or two while you go through all the things that you're going to be doing as part of this strategy. Find out what the touch points is that they like or don't like, or reasons why they don't like them. Get as much feedback as you can, and I think then you'll redraft this again. You'll get your final draft of a strategy that's not only gone round the houses here and all to the lovely members and all to the nice management teams, but it's also hit the people that matter, and they're the people that matter out there. Yeah, your customers. And I think if you do that, and I've done quite a few of these customer forums, you know, and it's important that they're the people that you're selling to and you're providing the services to. They're the people that should be there giving the feedback. Go through all this with them, and then shape it up from there, and you'll find the document will come out a lot better. But I think it's a nice document. I like it. I like what you've done. There's a few things missing in there, I think, that are important, which I've already spoke about. I like your promise thing, because I think promise is good, providing you deliver a promise. It's no use promising if you can't deliver it, because then you're going to let yourself down, and then the whole organisation will fall flat on its feet. Okay.
Councillor Amber.
Councillor Pierpoint actually touched upon what I was going to say. I think we need to have focus groups on a wide variety of these groups. For example, I really struggle to understand this, and what the officer just mentioned as a solution, I didn't understand it at all. So it's not your fault, but so that's a perspective people need to understand, because if people have autism or mental health difficulties, that is what it is like for others to actually understand. I think focus groups from the community, from the hospitals, or community groups like Helen mentioned. So thank you for that. I mean, that will be quite useful. Thank you.
Councillor Bolton.
I'd just like to pick up on points that Councillor Marston, Councillor Pierpoint and yourself have just raised. I'm well aware of Councillor Staples' group and others around the town like it. And I totally agree with what all three of you said about joining up with them. We can present this, I'm sure, to Councillor Staples' group that she's involved with, which will go down really well. But also, I think we need to involve all the communities in Boston, not just old people, not just young, but also, like you say, the disabled, and also the Eastern Europeans and all them sort of people. Get everybody involved, and then we get a total full of what we need. So I'm totally in favour of everything that you said.
Councillor Danny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just go to, I think, where there's what's the customer experience, on our chart. I think it's page 4, 5, I think the page is 15, page 15. I've been reading through, and just one thing occurred to me, because what's a customer experience? Basically, customer experience, some things which we didn't touch on is to value the time of the customer. And a lot of people, for example, they work late shifts, or they work, finish. So what can we do with these people? Because they may call you from work for like 5 minutes, and then they have to divert all the call to certain department, and then they may not be able to wait. So is there any strategy for that? Because to value the time of our customers, that will make a difference as well.
Good point.
Thank you.
Good point.
If I may, absolutely, we've got many customers with many different needs, and absolutely appreciate all of those needs and how we can work through those. It's not something that we can necessarily specifically pull out as part of this, I would say, but I think we can work towards ensuring that the information is clear, that there are opportunities to connect where necessary. Unfortunately, I can't say that we'll have a 24/7 helpline, but we certainly can work through in terms of other options. I think, Roxanne, have you got anything else that you want to add on that point?
No, but it was just a point about more, getting the right message in, the right information to vulnerable groups. We, as a team, we are working through the website where we can add a phone number. And I always say, if you're going to put information about any services, make sure it's got a phone number. And again, that does open it up. For example, the mental health support is actually a 24-hour service across Lincolnshire, 365 days a year. But do enough residents know about that? No, we need to continually get those phone numbers and that publicity. So as part of the stakeholder engagement, we did do exactly as described. We reached out to charities and groups who specifically work with more vulnerable groups. So some of our age-friendly work, Age UK, Links Digital Inclusion Charity, and all three Citizens Advice Chief Execs from across the county actually joined us and gave us feedback around how this would land. But there's always improvements, and we can always strip it back a bit more. So thank you very much to the committee for your feedback.
Thank you. I've just got a few things. First off, I agree with the principles of what we're trying to achieve here. You're obviously trying to work across all the councils for everything standard. And, I appreciate that an awful lot of work has gone into this. I fear actually too much work. This to my mind. Oh, sorry, there's one other thing which I have already spoken to officers. There are various little errors in here of missing words where cut and paste has got a bit excited. And so, they're aware of those sort of things. I'm just talking about the principle. And, this isn't written in a language for our customers.
Absolutely.
This is written in our language, barely. And I do think we need to look at what we're trying to achieve here. Now, it's great that we're setting out for ourselves, what we're going to do, what we're aiming for, how we're working. But we do need, I think another councillor mentioned it, I think we do need some sort of précis of this in much plainer English and many less words. There are too many words, there's too much repetition. I generally think this could do with, every other word could almost go and it would still be as good a document. Because the danger is, with all its great intentions, if it's too long and too wordy, no one's actually going to read it. So you want something that people can read and engage with. And then this brings me to, I suppose, one of my standard things. This again reads very top down. This is how we are going to help you. Not so much as how can you help us? How are we going to encourage engagement from the bottom? How are we actually going to encourage? This is dealing with people coming to us with problems, but how are we going to encourage people to engage with us to get things changed? How are we going to show that they've been successful? This is fine. If somebody's got an issue, they're going to come to us and we're telling them how we're going to deal with it. But how about a community's got a problem? How are they going to come to us? How do we communicate with communities? What's their access? I think we need something in it, how we're going to encourage people to engage with us other than coming to us with their problems. This is very much people coming to us with their problems, not coming us with ideas of how to improve things, how to make things better, trying to cut things off before they become a problem. I also think, again, I think it might have been Councillor Pierpoint, I've lost my, but I do think we need a section actually in here, what if it goes wrong? That actually, that we're sort of honest enough to say something it goes wrong, and here are your remedies. I don't think in here at all it mentions contacting councillors at all. We're not mentioned. We're their elected representatives, and I don't think we actually got a mention in the document. And so, don't get me wrong. Its heart is right. I have no problem with that, but I do think we need to get just some of the word. There's just one. Well, okay. We believe that there is a way that this can be achieved through an integral sub-regional offer. What is that? I'm sorry. This can be achieved by the councils working together. An integrated sub-regional offer. That's a little bit in-house speak, isn't it? And also, again, I know we can't change it. I have great problems with the use of the word customer. A customer has a choice. A customer can go and buy his food in Asda or in Tesco's. The people who need our help, the people we are working for, they have no choice but to come to us. So they actually have to treat them far better than customers are treated. But I accept it's the modern word, we can't get away from it. But again, in honesty, other words are mostly longer and I then criticise them. So
apologies, sorry. I think it's an exceptionally interesting point in terms of that customer word. Yes, absolutely. The majority of the people we're aiming at are our customers, they're our communities and so on and so forth. There's also businesses, there's organisations. So I suppose the customer word was the umbrella term for all of those people. And I appreciate that some of our communities don't have a choice because we're the ones that empty their bins and we're the one that grant planning permissions, etc. But in terms of businesses and organisations that work with, they do have a choice to work with us, and we want to be open for business. We want to have our door open and go, yeah, come to us because we're the best. So I suppose it's a general term, but appreciate your point. It's not the best.
No, I genuinely, actually, I accept it's the only word you can use because any other one is actually worse. Yeah, so it isn't that, but I just think it's. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when we started using the word customer in local government, and then it was. Yeah, I think we were trying to palm them off a little bit in those days. Maybe we've changed, but yeah, I just feel we do need to focus a bit more. Councillor Danny. No, I thought you raised your hand. If you don't want to speak, no, I'm not forcing. I haven't got that desperate yet. Actually, I'm forcing members to speak. No, you've all done well tonight with our contributions. I'm not going to make anybody speak. No, sorry. Thank you.
If I may just say one final thing, if there are any other feedback or comments that you want to, that you've remembered when you get home or over the course of the next few days, weeks, whatever, please do feed them either into myself, Roxanne or Dale. I think it would be very much appreciated, and we really value your contributions this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, Councillor Borton.
Just to clarify even more, Emily's saying, obviously, this is a free council partnership. I'm going to be the face of the Boston side, so obviously any Boston issues come to me, and obviously I'll be engaging with Councillor Staples and other groups to try and get things sorted so we can have meetings with them. So I'm on the Boston side. This is part of the three councils, but obviously the Boston comes to me.
Thank you. Can I thank officers for the detail they report? Mr. Leach.
Just to say, I thought it was really helpful to get members steer on this particular document. To be honest, clearly officers come at things from one particular perspective, but you only get the value once you join together with members. Members are the decision makers on this, and it's really important as representatives of your community, your views are reflected in this. I really like the bit about what if it goes wrong, which picks up Councillor Pierpoint's point, kind of summarises everything under a particular heading. Contacting councillors, brilliant. I think that absolutely clearly missing, and it's great that it's it's something that we've picked up, clearly missing, and important to get that in there. The co-production piece, totally agree with that as well. Customers have got to be embedded in the development of the document, else it will never work, and that bit about being bottom up as well. So just thank you very much, committee. Thank you.
Yeah, no, can I thank officers for their detail their report, and Councillor Broughton for helping us go through this. And again, I think your questions have been great. Councillor Danny does want to speak now.
Yes, I tell you, it was something when we were talking, Mr. Chairman, and it's the reality. A lot of trust in Boston has been lost. So how can we build that trust in our communities? This is the biggest issue, and I think one of the main challenges of this council. Yeah. And I think face-to-face or contacting people will be the easy, probably, to repair the damage. Because like I said, the trust has been gone. How can we, repair and sort it out and, get something out of it? Thank you.
Councillor Pierpoint.
This is my final bit, then I'm going to shut up. The communication of this is going to be very important. So delivering it, communicating it, and making sure that the public understand it, and making sure that what you say you're going to do, like the promise, is done. Because you know what people think about councils? They think they're not very good, they don't get much service, nobody cares, and all that stuff. I won't go on about all that because that's what people think about councils. You're going to revolutionise your customer service operation with the sounds of it. It's going to be obviously very interesting to see how it's all going to pan out. So therefore, it's important that you do deliver, you do communicate, you do engage, and you do make sure that you give people what they want, because they can then start to believe you. And I think the marketing of this and the communicating of this is very important. How it's put out there in the marketplace, how people are going to receive it, and then make sure that they get it at this end when they come here. I have one issue about the telephones here. Sometimes it takes ages to get a phone answered, and I get fed up of hanging on. And that's one of the big issues that you've got to sort out, because the telephones take ages to get answered. And you might be 4,033 in the queue, but I can't wait that long. So you need to get that sorted out, the telephones. But anyway, great report. I know it wasn't designed for the public to read, and we're probably being a bit naughty here, but I think I understand what you're saying. it just needs now to be put into a more customer focused strategy. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I think actually there's quite a lot come out of here, which I think could result in quite a lot of changes. So I think maybe this needs to come back to us once some of the change has been done. Thank you. We've now got one more item, which is another exciting one. And so, do you need a break? No, or should we carry on? Carry on? Okie dokes. Can I thank the officers who've done that report? Please feel free to leave. You don't have to stay for the next bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, it sounds as though we're being so horrible tonight, but we want this to be right, like you want it to be right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some bit of paper. Oh, so obviously recommendations is that, you know, the officers take note of the issues that we raised today, and that the revised document comes back to us. Change has been done. Thank you. Members agree with that? Yeah. Thank you. So now finally we have, well, not finally, because I work programme. The next report, second report of the evening, is Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan. Again, it's Councillor Broughton as portfolio holder, and Mr. Leach, who's going to do a presentation.
2 in 1 tonight then. Right. As members will know, Boston Town Centre is a key economic and social hub for the Borough of Boston. Importantly, it is a sub-regional retail centre that provides retail employment and a variety of visitor attractions. Boston's town centre has, like many places throughout the country, suffered in recent times due to a number of factors, including obviously the COVID pandemic and an ongoing move to internet shopping. Yet as a town centre, Boston, as we know, has a lot to offer. This report provides for members' consideration a draft Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan covering the period 2023 to 2027. The draft strategy provides a vision and 7 strategic objectives, along with 70 actions that cover the themes of clean and safe, open for business, culture, heritage and events, and number 4 is transformation. In developing this piece of work, we are committed to working in partnership with businesses, residents and partners, along with working very closely with the BTAC and also Councillor Pierpoint as the chairman of that BTAC, to revitalise the High Street and the surrounding public realm, making the town centre a place to be proud of, a place recognised for its great heritage and a place that is cherished by its diverse communities to work, live and enjoy leisure time in. This strategy and its associated action plan is intended to assist in driving positive change in how our town centre is managed, nurtured and developed both now and for the future. Appendix A of this report provides the draft Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan. Appendix B provides a summary of the proposed actions associated with a strategy and action plan. It is vital that this work is shaped by the community and local businesses, and to that end, the view of this scrutiny committee is also very importantly sought. The strategy and action plan is provided for public consultation during the period of 15th of September to the 15th of October 2023. It is currently intended to be considered at Cabinet on the 25th of October of this year. The recommendation is for the Corporate and Community Committee to consider the draft Boston Town Centre Strategy and Action Plan and to feed back as appropriate to help in the development of the document to be considered by the Cabinet going forward. John Leach is going to take members through a presentation to support your considerations regarding this very important piece of work. I will now hand over to John.
Thank you very much, Councillor Broughton. I'm really pleased to be here tonight to present this collaborative piece of work. It's really important that scrutiny is part of the process as opposed to being apart from the process. So your views and considerations is something that we're really grateful for and are seeking to tonight. In terms of the presentation, we've got 8 points to work through. talk a little bit about the town centre strategy and the action plan and the purpose behind that. Talk about some of the key characteristics of a town centre, but specifically your place, Boston Town Centre. We'll look at a draft vision, and this is draft work. It's an emerging vision, emerging key strategic objectives. We'll talk about the place itself and how it is dynamically managed. We'll look at the challenges and opportunities that you're all too familiar with as well. Some of the emerging themes and actions. We'll very much talk about measuring success as well. That's a key part of this clearly, and how the strategy has been shaped. And then we'll move to next steps and the recommendations put before you tonight. So in terms of developing a town centre strategy, clearly see Boston Town Centre as a key economic and social hub for the borough. But talking more generally, what are the key characteristics of a town centre? Well, it's a retail centre. It's a place that offers leisure and entertainment. It's a place where culture very much comes to life within your locality. It's important that you can access services, public and private services. It's an employment centre as well, a business centre, as you know all too well. And it's important that it has good transport options and solutions as well, whether that's on foot, on a bicycle, using public transport or by car. All these different solutions to get into the place and out of the place are really important as well. And public perceptions are key. So those are all the kind of key things that the Association of Town and City Management have put forward. For us, really, what we're proposing is to really maximise all that a town centre should be for the people of Boston. And your leadership around that is key to it, because you know what the people of Boston want and desire. And it's important we can have your views tonight to help inform and structure this piece of work. And indeed, all those people that visit the town as well. You interact with them on a regular basis. So to get your leadership around that is key to us. The geography that we're talking about is set out on this particular slide. We've included Central Park, seeing as that is a key feature of the town centre. Whilst not a retail location itself, it's clearly part of the offer of the town centre. We've included areas on either side of the river, and clearly the key transport hubs such as the railway, the bus station, and so on. And so that's the geography that we're talking about, looking extensively on either side of the River Witham. You know this place better than I do. Clearly you do. So it's an important town centre in its own right. It's an historic centre. It's a location that's known nationally and indeed internationally. I think it's important that through this strategy, we start to amplify that even more so than it has done in the past. It's got some iconic locations, Boston Stump, the Guildhall, other sites around the town, and nationally and internationally important. Let's play to our strengths, and that's a key thing that we're trying to do through this piece of work. Yes, there's a defined geography that's associated with it, which is measured here approximately. It's also an area that's challenged in terms of some of the things that have happened over time. Clearly, COVID-19 has had an impact. Clearly, the internet itself is having an impact in terms of changing behaviours. So it's a changing space, as well as that important place for everybody. Got a number of strengths, and it's got those challenges as well that I talked about. It's got a regular market. I think it's got an anniversary coming up. 900 years, I hear. Clearly, this is a long-standing and important marketplace that, again, has got national and international importance. It's got some key features, such as the park that I've talked about. It's got listed buildings, got car parking, bus stations, got lots of things going for it. So we recognise the place, and it's important through this strategy we play to our strengths. So far, we've talked to the Cabinet, we've talked to officers, and we've talked to some partners. Here are some of the comments when we've asked what's the vision for Boston Town Centre. Here are some of the comments that we've received. People have talked about it as being a tourist location. We've talked about some key locations such as the Guildhall, talked about the market. A vision ought to say about its vibrancy. It should be a welcoming, inviting place. It's a place that people are rightly proud of as well. And how can we ensure that through the generations that pride is continued as we go forward? It's important also that it's a clean, safe space. So these are some of the things that people have talked about. Now just pause a moment, and before I move on to what the draft vision is, just if I may, if that's okay, Chair, just collect members' views as part of this consultation in terms of the sorts of things you would like to see in the vision. Would that be okay? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, certainly. So, oh gosh, everybody. Yeah, so it was a draw when you put your hands up. So we will start with Councillor Pierpoint and work towards me. Yep.
One of the things that concerns me so far, I'm not enthralled by the market offer, to be honest. I feel that it's just not good enough, and it doesn't seem to be strong enough for my likes. I visit it and I walk around it, and it's half there one week, and another week it's a part there, and it just isn't strong enough. And that's one of the issues that I think that needs to be addressed, because if you're having a good market, people will go into the town and they will spend money and they like to go around. But our market seems to have shrunk over the years. It seems to get less and less every time I go down there. So that's one of my worrying issues. I've got other things I can talk to you about later on, and I'll come back to.
Yeah, we'll have a chance for a proper discussion. This is just
Yes.
this little bullety point things.
Yeah, if I may, just to clarify, this is about the vision for the town centre. What is your vision? Totally take the point about markets, and we'll come back on that. So thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Marston.
Sorry, I think I've done the same as Councillor Pierpoint. I was just going to touch on the fact that the most important issue to get that vision for everybody, because all the complaints that I get and all the other councillors get, is the safety and the cleanliness. And then if you get them done, then you're on the way to your vision. That's the safety in the town and the cleanliness is the main issue of the day at the minute. Thank you.
Councillor Danny.
Chairman, the vision, it looks good. I mean, things when you go on paper and these things, I mean, I'm not diminishing what you have done. It's quite good. And I'm in town 6 days a week. And believe you me, I hear a lot of things. So one of the things which is I talk to the previous council, it will make things easy for people driving through Boston, is naming our parkings and putting the price tag on them. That will make it easy if I come from Skegness or coming from Louth or from anywhere, I can access to any parking around town. Now, if you go to Haven Bridge, there is a parking there which is always empty. And that's the traffic. There's probably thousands of cars on daily basis, but there is no name, there's no price. If we put a price, like for example, £1.50 or £2.60 a day, people will go there. That's one of the things. Then I talked to the previous council, and even I was part of it, but they don't, it seems to me that there's nobody listening. We have places where we can put some monuments for people to visit, and we can do that, because if we do that, that will attract people coming to town, because that's what people come into town to see. When I go to Stamford, I look, I go to probably antique shops, and that's where I go. So I will take my wife, probably take the kids, and we have a day. There's the other thing. How can we attract kids to the town? And once you attract kids, you can attract parents. And that's what they do in businesses like a big chains. Free meal for a kid, but the parents will pay probably £50, but they don't know because the kids are happy. If we can do that. One of the things which is I would like to see, because we are working with the environment, and I think Broughton probably will support me on that one, is why not have one Sunday a month that the marketplace is car free, only for people to enjoy the town centre without having cars behind their heads, and the kids can run freely. And I think if we can probably provide that to people, people will come more, because then you have that kind of relaxation, safety, cleanness, and you can enjoy really the center of Boston, which is quite nice. The other thing I will touch on, probably, I don't want to go on, is we have a lovely banks on the river. So all we can do probably is fight with the environment agency, is the trees to be probably trimmed, cleaned, because I'm working on that with the county, and it seems they don't want to listen. So we need to put pressure from all of us, the officers and ourselves, to achieve that, that goals we want, because we have a beautiful places. If you have a tourist coming and taking a walk from the stamp walking by Haven Bank to see the marina, you hardly see the marina with the bushes. You can't. And this is the issues we're facing. And I will need the support of Councillor Broughton, officers from Boston, to put more pressure on the Environment Agency at the county level. We need to make our town our priority. They have to understand that this town has to thrive. And I will echo what Councillor Pierpoint said. Yesterday, there were only 9 stalls in the market. 9. Saturday, the market was, I think, they start packing up at 1 o'clock. So it is an issue for us how to bring the market back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing to talk. Thank you.
Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, a small adjustment to the narrative on pages 15 and 38 that talks about the Pilgrim Fathers. I have in fact emailed John Leach with a suggested alternative, a few alternative words, but just to say that the Pilgrim Fathers came to Boston in 1607, sorry, not 1620. And of course, they didn't get on the Mayflower until they sailed in 1620 from Plymouth.
Okay.
So, but that's the first point.
Can Ms. Leach just come back on that?
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. Perhaps I've been incorrect in my approach. What I was seeking to do was to find out what your aspirations were for the town in terms of the vision piece. My presentation will talk about the various different things. I'm quite happy to proceed with the presentation.
Yeah.
If that's a more useful way
At
forward.
the moment, this is just like little bullet points for us to add in. So if you keep your bit until your second one is it?
Yeah. Now, clearly and rightly, there's a lot of emphasis on local residents, but much less evident emphasis on the visitor. And we've got to bear in mind that our visitor economy is £95 million a year. And I would like to see in this document rather more reference to that and how we're going to achieve that. I think the problem is that I don't think we fully understand the visitor economy, and it might. I think it perhaps even warrants a task and finish group to so that we can really understand what the visitor economy is and how we can proactively improve it. But that's a point I would like to make at this point.
Thank you, Councillor Welbury.
Hello. There's just one word, basically. You've got to make it a destination. It's not a destination. It's a place to avoid. And why would you go there?
And from me, following up a bit on Councillor Danny's point, I do think we need to look at car parking and our charging structure. I don't think our charging encourages people to pop in the town. And then once they start popping in the town, they might start visiting. So I do think, don't get me wrong, I understand it is a proper source of income for the borough, but I'm not saying free park, but I just think we need to look at how we structure the car parking charges, and then following on again, other bits like car parking, publicising it better. Thank you. Councillor Ironbroth.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Pierpoint, then Councillor Ironbroth. Sorry.
John, first of all, it's good to have a strategy of the town centre and how we're going to develop it and grow it. So first of all, to have that vision and to see what we're going to do going forward, I think is obviously, a must. And it's also very encouraging to think that, Boston is a small...
Barry, sorry to interrupt. We're going to come to, we've got more of this, and then we've got a chance to discuss it. This is just a little interregnum for just little bullet points.
Great plan.
Yeah. Okay. I think Councillor Amber, have you got a point, or do you want to discuss the general issue? Okay.
Can I just qualify? Is that about the vision, your vision for? Because I have several slides, and I don't want to keep you. That's all. It's about the vision.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
Thank you.
I'm not entirely sure how this would fit in, but this is my vision. I would want Boston to be a tourism hub. So film opportunities, filmmaking, water transport, electric vehicles for the town center, the ones you see in airports and so on. So similar ones. You call it electric auto rickshaws or something like that. Because in India, in Shantiniketan, you have in that township you have this electric autos. And again, festivals. Recently, I inaugurated a festival from my place in India, a Kerala festival, which was, I think, around 300 people attended that. Festivals from around the world, people participating, and one of the festivals we had last year was the Holi festival organized by one of our friends in the Center Park. So something similar. Thank you.
Okay, so if we carry on now with the presentation, and then we'll have a chance then to actually discuss things.
Thank you, Chair. I promise I won't pause till the end. So thank you very much. The things I picked up there, key points from your vision. You're talking about a place to relax in, safety, cleanliness, visitor economy, making it a destination. Really welcome that comment, and a tourism hub. So in terms of the vision so far, what has emerged, and we can look at this further, taking on board your comments, it's Boston Town Centre will be known to be a place that brings communities together to enjoy quality public realm and open spaces that magnify the national heritage of the town while supporting a vibrant retail and hospitality experience. So that's what's kind of emerged so far to try to crystallise what people want, and I'll take on board your comments that you provided tonight. So thank you very much for that. Also, what we have within the strategy are 7 key strategic objectives. Now, you don't need me to read the list, they're in your papers tonight, but it includes things like experiencing a cleaner and tidy public realm. We've talked about cleanliness tonight. Also, a place that's safe, visitors and residents feel safe, whether that's daytime or during the nighttime economy, and a place where businesses have every opportunity to thrive as well is a key strategic objective for us. A place with heritage and culture. Talked about festivals, councillor. So events and entertainment is a key strategic objective within this document. And we talked about transport, talked about car parking, etc. So again, that is a key part of it in terms of the ability to access and leave the town centre easily, modes of transport and how that is facilitated. Community as a key strategic objective has come forward really strongly as part of this piece of work. This isn't just about buildings and physical infrastructure, it's about people and building a cohesive community, a place, a town centre. The document itself is cited as a town centre for everyone. So everyone is welcome and is part of Boston and the story for Boston. And then to work effectively with all public sector partners, businesses, and the voluntary and community sector as well. So they're the kind of key strategic objectives that have emerged and informed this piece of work. I won't dwell too much on this. Clearly it is a dynamic space. It is maintained, it is looked after. We have resources that are finite, but they are deployed in the town centre in order to make it clean and tidy and welcoming and so on. And there are ways and means to support people through education and indeed enforcement where that's required, should people take it upon themselves to have behaviours that actually cause enviro crime as well. Here's just some snapshots of our guys at work, clearly demonstrating that they are active within the town centre itself. Some of the challenges, I said early on, we talk about some of the challenges. Well, I was talking about finite resources. We have absolutely limited resources. This clearly isn't something that just the council is responsible for. We clearly work with the police, health sector, the voluntary and community sector, businesses, to get the best out of what has been a long-standing and well-serviced town centre, something that is available to all residents and communities from further afield as well. But there are challenges there. There's room to improve environmental performance. We do, like many places, have empty shops. COVID-19, as I talked about earlier, has had an impact. The internet changing customer or retail behaviours has had an impact. And there has over time been some negative impressions. I know one of the key ambitions is to have an absolutely fantastic Christmas this year, and a 4-day festival is covered within this document. And then in the past, there's been perceptions around community cohesion and community safety, and that's come out a little bit tonight as well. But there are great opportunities listed. We're seeking to increase capacity. We've been successful on many funding bids. We consider our resourcing in terms of how we deploy it, and we seek through data and intelligence that's available to us, both in terms of hard facts and what members tell us about how best to deliver our services. There's a real opportunity to work with businesses around this piece of work and to better support communities through a range of different things, events and activities that positively bring people together. And there's an opportunity to utilise much of the work that's been put in place through, for example, within the council, the Growth Directorate as well. I know there's been key pieces of work that they've done. And clearly there's some more funding that has been identified for Boston regarding a levelling up partnership as well. So the emerging themes, and you've very helpfully drawn some of these out already. Emerging themes, the document itself is structured around 4 themes, being clean and safe, open for business, events and cultural activities, and then this transformation piece in terms of recognising that nothing stands still, nothing stays the same, and it's about transforming the town centre and following the vision that you have contributed to tonight. The one of the appendices provides a summary of the actions that are covered in the document. I won't read those out, they're in your papers, and I think it's just helpful to say that we, as Councillor Broughton said, with 70 actions. They fall as they are demonstrated on this particular slide, and they're under a range of different headings as shown here on this particular slide, covering the first 2 thematic areas, and then this slide covering the other 2 thematic areas as well. Earlier on, we talked about the customer engagement strategy and measuring success, and that's just as relevant here. So it's about delivering those 70 actions and others, and indeed looking at key performance indicators such as footfall data, how well people are using our car parks, what the retail offer is, and also getting some of that soft intelligence as well in terms of what the people of the town say, and also what businesses say as well, and how well we are performing economically. So that's all part of this piece of work that's being considered through a steering group led by Councillor Broughton, but also indeed supported by Councillor Pierpoint as well, recognising the important role of BTAC. Again, officers are at a senior level around the table on this, and we're also drawing in partners as well. So that helpfully is, in terms of what I've just said, actually demonstrates that the steering group is made up of those parties that I've just talked about. And then you've got some lead officers as well against those thematic areas. We've got some leads around business engagement and also community and voluntary sector engagement. And Emily is the lead assistant director around community and voluntary sector engagement. And Lydia Rustling is the assistant director that is the engagement lead for retail and businesses as well. And clearly, as I've said before, the role of BTAC is instrumental here as well. The timescales on this, there's been a great ambition around this to not make this a long drawn out bureaucratic exercise. It's about recognising what's currently in train, what could be proposed going forward in the short term, where we can be really impactful, and also what we can do longer term as well. And the timescale as set out is currently to head towards a cabinet meeting on the 25th of October. We are in consultation mode at the moment, hence scrutiny tonight. Consultation runs from the 15th of September to the 15th of October. We're at BTAC next week. There's engagement work that's taking place with the retail and business sector, and there's also some outreach work that's taking place as well with the community sector. Indeed, we're in the market, for example. I know that was mentioned earlier. I think that's next week, where there's some engagement with the market as well. So next steps, I think I've covered that through what I've said, reaching out through a range of different mechanisms, using social media. I saw something earlier on today that we did a 24-hour slot, and we had, I think it was something like 1,500 engagements just around this piece of work within a 24-hour period. So this is something we believe that the community and businesses are really interested in. So your contributions are really valid. I've talked about those key dates. I've already relayed that to you. The recommendations in your report. And so back to you, Chair and Committee, for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leach, for a very detailed report. I'm actually going to take advantage of being chairman to say a few words first. I can't say how pleased I am at this report. We finally seem, I mean, I've been involved with this council since 2011, and we finally seem to have a council that is prepared to admit that things aren't right, but they are prepared now to stand up and try and put it right. I mean, I live in Boston. I have no relatives here. I have no real connections here. I live here because I actually like it. And contrary to what lots of people say about the town, I think it has a great heart and great potential. And so I'm really pleased that finally, we've got a council that's prepared to take ownership of a problem that's been self-evident for far too long. And I'm really pleased at the way the officers now are rallying round and actually coming up with solutions to this problem. So, I really am pleased at this. So that I'm going to shut up now. Okay, anyone want to talk? Have I shut you all up now? Councillor Pierpoint.
My concerns tends to be on the delivery programme and the dates. I'm just wondering whether we're just too ambitious, we're trying to get too many things done too quickly. There's a lot going on in this project. It's a huge project. It's quite intense. It's quite complex. Lot happening. Are we going to hit the dates that we've set down, or are we just trying to rush things too quickly? Or do we need to sit and look at the dates very carefully and make sure that we can deliver all those 70 points and all the other things in that document?
Yep.
So I think there's a saying, isn't there? Time waits for no man or no person. We might adapt it to these days. For me, there's a great ambition around it. The way we're looking at this is to treat the document itself as a living document. And so whilst we're capturing what's currently happening and what's proposed, equally it can be adapted and developed over time as well. But it's important, as I said earlier, that this isn't seen as a bureaucratic exercise that takes 2 years to deliver. We don't have the time for that. We need to press on, and that's what we're committed to in this piece of work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Austin.
Thank you. I think we want to be very aware that Boston 400 will be here before we know it. I know it's 2030, sounds a long time off, but there's a lot of work. It's going to be a very big event, and there's going to be a lot of things to do in preparation, which take time and money to gather to do it. So in this document, I'd like to see a little bit more about the visitor economy and Boston 400. I think that's the main thing I want to. Now, clearly, we've got to get the Guildhall really working for the visitor economy. It's not doing so at the moment. It's not there proactively building the visitor economy. It ought to be. And the work, I think the idea of working with the stump on the visitor economy is a tourist information centre. I think that's got a lot of merit. So I would like to see that progressing quite quickly. but I would also like to see the quick progress with the Guildhall as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Welbury, then Councillor Martin.
Just a point, just following on from Councillor Austin. It's just a small thing. Well, it's a big thing actually. The history of Boston is not correct as you've actually written it down, and I'm sure Councillor Austin will agree with me. It was the 1630 Puritans, led by John Winthrop, that actually founded Boston, Massachusetts. They bought some land off a trader. The Mayflower Pilgrims actually were Cape Cod. So he went over with Bay Trading Company. But I think it's important that we actually get the history right, otherwise we're going to look really foolish, especially following on from Councillor Austin and the 400. Well, you know.
Come back on that one. We have got to recognise that that the first 50 years was Boston, Massachusetts was governed by people from Boston, or they were deputy government. So in fact, we had much more influence than Winthrop. I think Winthrop is over emphasised. Anyway,
well, that's another discussion. I'm just saying, let's just get the history.
Okay.
Right.
We've just published a revision of the book. There's a lot more about the early history, ourselves and Boston, Massachusetts. So I'd encourage you all to read that, and we've got some very solid information in that book.
The only point is, if we're going to,
Okay, yeah, but I think
need
this is
to, like, get the history right.
I think we can do this elsewhere. Thank you. Just a very quick aside. I always felt we shouldn't let him out in 1607, but who am I? Councillor Marson.
Thank you. Can I just touch on the safety bit again, please? Could you just explain to me how it's going to be tackled? Now, I know you've got it written down, but just explain it in a bit more depth to me. There's a lot of issues with people drinking in the town and not being, well, the enforcement officers not approaching them over it, and and it's just people do not feel safe going into the town centre because of all the crowds around the memorial. We know it's about probably because the Wi-Fi is free from the banks there, so they gather there. But that's not the answer for the residents and for the people that want to go. That's going to stop people going into town shopping. The biggest issue to stop people going into Boston is the safety issue, and feeling intimidated, hanging around. You've got to think, because the memorial is right when all the banks are. A lot of the elderly, my mum won't go into town now because of it. She stopped going into town. A lot of elderly people have stopped going into town, and it's the elderly people that use the markets. So that's a big reason for decline as well on the markets. So I really think the safety issue is just such a big thing in the town that's the most important thing to address before you even think about anything. Thank you.
Councillor Broughton.
Just want to touch up on a couple of points. Firstly, I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Marson, but having conversations with the market traders, their point is the opposite. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke to 3 different market traders who said they was absolutely dead because there was no foreign nationals in the town who'd spend more money on the markets than what the residents do. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Obviously, there is a problem with safety, but figures coming out show Boston is not as bad as what people think it is compared to other places. I know we live here, but the figures that's coming out, but there is initiatives taking place which are going to totally change all the safety side of it. Inspector Clarkson of Boston Police is very, very pro-Boston. He wants everything to be safe, sound, and everything else. So I can assure you that the safety issue in Boston is being addressed. I was going to address Councillor Darney's points, but he's actually left. So regarding the monuments, he was saying we need monuments. We've got plenty of, as Councillor Austin well knows, we have plenty of historical buildings in Boston that we just do not promote properly. This is in the plan. We will promote Boston as much as we can. I'm a lifelong Bostonian. I've stood for the council on getting Boston back to how it was. That's for the markets, that's for the traders, that's for the retail shop owners, that's for the residents. This is my baby, so to speak. I want Boston to be back to where it was 20, 30 years ago, and I will fight tooth and nail that all these points get done, get actioned, and we get Boston back to where it used to be.
Mr. Leach. Do you want to say?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to comment. I entirely agree with what Councillor Broughton has said there, and I admire his passion for this. I mean, it's a key thing. Passion will see us through in terms of the determination that's required. There's no silver bullet in terms of some of the issues that you talked about. There's no single thing that can be put in place to resolve some of those things, but the strategy is multifaceted. We're looking at a range of different things. We're looking at things like improving cleanliness, working better with our partners, working with the police in terms of some of the issues that you talked about, street drinking, etc. So it's about working collectively together. The things that the local authority does, licensing, for example, is just one of them. Our own wardens are part of that as well. And it's just important that we are all joined up, working as public bodies, as businesses as well, and with the community. It should be owned as an issue, and by working together, we can then get a better outcome for local people. Thank you.
Councillor Pierpoint.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the things that I think is missing, having read the report and been part of the process and the steering group, I think this Wormgate, to me, is an area that could be developed, it should be developed, almost a bit oldie worldy. I mean, it's cobbled streets, you get those little shops there and you can get them all, improved and refurbished and make it a sort of oldie worldy shopping experience where people go there, and lots of independent shops. And I think that's part of the area here that I think we're missing out on. Because I like to visit Chester, I like to visit Bath, I like to visit York, and they've got those cobbly little streets and those little independent shops. And we've got an area there that's sitting there half-hearted. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there to develop that. It might need funding, it might need investment, but I think that should be part of this strategy. And personally, later on, might be part two, because I just think that people like all that sort of thing, oldie worldy stuff, and like to see independent shops. I know Dolphin Lane's got that sort of thing, but not quite the same sort of feel to it than the Wormgate. So I just think that's an area that could be cafes, restaurants, could be leisure, could be retail, independent shops, etc. Thank you.
Just to come back and say that's really welcome. The section transformation is exactly for those particular sorts of thoughts and considerations. So thank you.
Councillor Welbury.
Just an observation, the market is shrinking. I think Councillor Danny said there was only 9 market stalls, but when I go, they seem to be very spread out. Can't they sort of be corralled more close together so it looks like we've got a more vibrant market? And then maybe invite artisan food stalls to come along to sort of corral them round so it looks a bit more like there's more going on. Because when you go there and there's one stall here and there's one right down at the bottom, and you have to walk quite a long way, it does look and feel like tumbleweed should be going through, basically. So is there something in the charter that says they have to stay where they are? Or can they be put closer together?
Councillor Broughton.
Thank you, Councillor Welby. And also this was raised earlier on by Councillor Pierpoint. I will just correct Councillor Darney. There wasn't 9 stalls yesterday. There was 14 actually, because I was up there counting. And bearing in mind the atrocious weather conditions yesterday, that was the factor why there was only 14 stalls. But I do agree with what you're saying. The first thing I did when I took over this position was already start looking at the market. And we've already started. We've got the teenage market now getting involved. I'm also in a project with Councillor Gleeson and Councillor Staples. We're looking at bringing a food festival into the town next year. But also we are looking at getting more food vendors and getting more traders from other markets around the county. We've got we're looking at getting an introduction pack to actually give to other traders in the town, in other markets. So I can guarantee you that the markets are getting looked at very closely, daily in my case, actually, because I want the markets better for Boston, not only for the market traders, but also for the businesses in the town. because you get the extra footfall in. It encourages the traders and it encourages the market, the retailers, and it also encourages businesses who's thinking of coming to Boston to say, well, let's get rid of some of these empty shops. Let's get into Boston. So I can guarantee the market is 100% getting looked at very, very closely and will get changed.
I've just got, anybody else, any points? Councillor Staples.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I do like this document. You know, there are obviously, as Councillor Welby's and Councillor Austin's pointed out, there are a few little glitches where the historical things aren't quite right. But to me, this document is aspirational, and we have got to aspire to make this town better, to make it, as Councillor Welby says, a destination. And I think, you know, everybody is now working cohesively together to aspire to raise the image of Boston. We've got to raise the image. We've got to dispel all of these horrible myths that we've had. We've got to make Wormgate a little cultural area. We've got to, you know, we've all got to work hard in this to make sure that this is delivered. And I think we're all of the same mind that we want to do it. So, you know, a big thank you to you all for the hard work that has gone into this.
Yeah, Mr. Leach, you've Councillor Welby and then me, and then you can sort of answer that and sum up. We'll go home. Councillor Welby.
Yes, sorry, I'm just going to say my favourite word, vinyls. I strongly feel that the empty shops are not very welcoming, and I keep banging on about it. Sorry, folks, but but I really do think we should really pull our fingers out and have vinyls on the empty shops that say historic Boston, have a relief of the stump. Even the actual St Bottles itself has a logo, which is quite appealing. We could put that all around the town so that when you do go into the town, you do see an empty shop, it doesn't look quite so desolate. And like I say, that's one of my favourite things. I'm always on about those, but I think it's really important.
Yeah, I've just got following slightly from what Councillor Danny said again about the waterways. You know, if you drive into Boston from Horncastle, that should be beautiful, and the Environment Agency makes it rather unpleasant. It's outside of our control, but you drive in and there's the odd shopping trolley and a bit of something else, and the banks are tatty, and you know that should be, you know, something on post, you know, that should be an attractive. And we've got the walkout, we've got the Havenside Country Park where you can walk all the way out to the Wash. And if you really had to, you could walk all the way to Skegness. Why you would, when you can be in Boston. But you know, I do think that is an offer or something we just need to look at. So if Mr. Leach, you would like just to come back on that, and then we have a recommendation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, that was a point made earlier in terms of the waterways, so we can certainly build that into the document. The bit that I did want to sort of just come back on and further crystallise was the piece around the markets, which Councillor Pierpoint rightly raised earlier, and Councillor Welby also raised. What we are doing in terms of all the different initiatives that Councillor Broughton talked about, we're putting that under an umbrella document, which is a market development plan. So it demonstrates that kind of overall strategic approach that we're taking. We're not doing things in a piecemeal way. It's about real thought and consideration about what's right for the town, and we're also working with the market traders regarding that. And I know there's an up and coming meeting to talk to the traders about how do we get the best market development plan put in place so these initiatives are taken forward in the future. Just to sum up from me, I found it really helpful and informative in terms of the views that the committee has provided today. Really helpful in terms of that the vision itself. It's great that you talked about the market, take on board those comments. It's really helpful to hear the comments around community safety, so that really sticks in my mind, and we'll make sure that we articulate that properly in the way that you'd like to see it within the document. Appreciate the comments around vinyls and some of the work that's actually already underway regarding that. The point about waterways is helpful, as is car parks. There was also mention earlier about attracting young people as well into the town. So that's a point, again, well made. Councillor Austin's points around Boston 400, clearly recognise that, clearly recognise about getting the historical facts correct, and we'll make sure that we do that, and that visitor economy piece as well. So thank you very much indeed, committee.
Yes, so, obviously, Councillor, the recommendation is that the
Chairman, can I just add just two very quick things?
Certainly.
The first, I'd just like to say, I know Councillor Pierpoint's very keen on interacting with the residents. I'd just like to point out we are going onto the market on Wednesday, the 27th of September, next Wednesday, and also Saturday, the 14th of October, to get reactions from the residents of Boston. And I also just want to point out, I know Boston, everybody's saying doom and gloom at the minute. Boston in Bloom got gold winners this year in the town, so that's one massive thing for the town, and obviously that is going to get built on even more next year as well.
Yeah, Councillor Pierpoint, very quickly.
Very quickly. Just a quick one. I think when we start rolling this programme out, and obviously again it's a bit like the one we talked about earlier, I think we've got to communicate and engage with people out there, because we know what this is all about, but they've got to understand what it's all about, what we're trying to achieve. So whether you create a slogan or some sort of come to Boston and shop with confidence or something, I don't know. You've got to think of something. You need something to hang all this on. And then people can think, oh, I keep seeing this. And in the communication and the marketing messages, bit by bit, you then start creating this brand, Boston brand, where people are saying, yeah, I'm going to shop in Boston. It's going to be confident. I'm going to be able to go in there and do things. I mean, years ago, when I first came to live here, there was loads of buses coming here, coaches bringing lots of people here. I don't see that so much now. And we need to get those people back. And I think this strategy is good, but I think it needs to have some sort of slogan, tagline, or something to hang it on that then the people can recognise and engage with, and it has a meaning to them as well as us.
Thank you. So the recommendation is the portfolio holder and the officers take note of the comments we raised today, and we wish them luck. All agreed? Thank you. Before you can go home, we've got to look at the work programme. Can I thank all the people who came to the workshop? That was, I thought, really good, and we came with lots of ideas. On our next meeting, we do have an item on freedom of information policy, but also we have bits now coming out of the workshop, which Mr. Fisher will deal with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman said, a number of you around the table came to a workshop, and that was simply to brainstorm some of the topic areas that the committee would wish to consider, not just in this municipal year, but looking at setting, a much longer agenda, given the breadth of scrutiny that can take place. I'll just quickly go through the list that I came up with, and then take some steer from you through the chair as to what you may wish me to try and facilitate for you. So health scrutiny, the suggestion was to scrutinise the performance of Lincolnshire Partnership Foundation Trust, our mental health trust locally, as well as Lincolnshire United Hospitals Trust, as their services relate to local healthcare provision and outcomes for our local community. Previously, guests have been invited from ULHT. They've always accepted. So ULHT and LPFT are providers. We now have an integrated care board. They're a commissioner. So we would need to be really clear who we wanted to come, what we wanted to ask them. The sort of accepted practice is that when you're inviting chief execs and board directors, we give them the courtesy of sending a pre-populated question list. They come in and we ask them to reserve the right to ask follow-up questions. And I will say I've had Andrew Morgan and John Turner and people like that here previously, so they've always been gracious in attending. To scrutinise the transfer of financial responsibility of footway lighting to parish councils. Some of you will have been contacted by some parish councils and know there's some questions. That was one thing that came up at the workshop. Another was to understand the role of the Boston Transport Board and the Boston Transport Plan, particularly in terms of how the board and the plan itself have been developed to improve the local highway infrastructure, what's in the plan, what's been done, what's still to do, who owns the plan. You were very keen in terms of housing. to receive an initial briefing paper on the scope of the council's responsibilities as a local housing authority, covering housing register, access and homelessness, private sector housing, enforcement, adaptation, energy efficiency, the entire gambit that is the local housing authority. That was asked to be a briefing note. That in some ways, Chairman and committee may have been superseded. Mrs Spicer is going to be doing a briefing in November, which you may wish to use as your sort of sounding board as to which, if any, or all parts of those you might want to do any sort of deep dive in, particularly in relation to particular policy area scrutiny. There was a focus on holding social housing providers to account. And my notes were, how do local housing providers support people as residents of the borough, not just as tenants? And how do they support the council discharge its functions and its general housing duties? There were interest in the wellbeing and lifeline services. Again, the commission services that are available to our local residents to support independence, inclusion, access, and so on. Then interest in population dynamics. Some of you will remember that we, or I will say, as there's no public, I wrote a report for the council that won a whole load of national scrutiny awards that we've put in the shelf, and the question was, what's changed since 2013? And there was an interest in understanding what and who our current population are, and to be assured that we're cognizant of their needs and indeed meeting those needs, which goes back to our first agenda item this evening in relation to customer experience strategy. Do we know who our customers are? Do we know how they access our services? Do we know where they do access our services? And if so, are we meeting their needs, their expectations? Because of course they're very different things, aren't they? Particularly when we've got a split between statutory and discretionary services. We've got a base level of legal responsibility, and then we've got everything that builds up on that. And of course, we will put that into a financial context every year when we set our annual budget. Then there was real interest in local democracy and engaging our community along that same golden thread. How do we stimulate local enthusiasm? How do we drive representative representation and ensure that our service are indeed responsive to those needs, demands and expectations? That is a whistle-stop bullet point summary of what we gave. So they're themes and topics. What clearly will come forward as part of the work programme are, various policy strategies, etc., that will come on. But that was the sort of brainstorm of those that attended in terms of some of that more deep dive, probably task and finish approach, probably presentations to give you the ability to go, right, that's the slither of that part of the council's business that really interests us, that we think's got impact, and we would like to do. I've no idea, Chairman, what you want to do with that narrative I've just given you, but please give me some advice for future meetings.
My suggestion would be, because I'm very cognizant of, obviously this will involve a lot of officer time as well. So unless there's any particular issue that members want bringing forward urgently, I do have a couple of sessions of that. I think it's only fair we let officers come back to us with a timetable that's realistic. I do think there's scope for us to start a policy paper maybe on the population change report. I think we could do that, and that's easy. And with the announcement that LHP is merging with, or putatively merging with, Ongo, I do think I do have concerns about how well our social housing tenants are provided. So I would quite like them to be quite up in the urgency. But if members have any other points they want, I think also actually that the health one is one I think that we could start working on. So, but I am, this is a long-term view. Obviously, what I'm not expecting is officers, to come in November with all, what I mean. This is there as we want to look at. So, have any members got any particular issues? Because we've got obviously the general housing thing, but I don't think we want to look at until we've had the November members briefing. I do believe there is work going on about the footlight lighting with the executive. Am I right on that? No.
Chairman, if I
maybe
can
that's-
assist the committee there. There are a number of political contacts that are
Okay.
going on that I've been copied into. So I'm deducing there will be some
Yeah,
work coming
okay,
out,
fine.
and scrutiny would probably be an obvious start.
Yeah, so I think we maybe sit on that until that develops a bit. But I'm happy really for the officers to, to look at those priorities and come with a sensible thing. We had a couple more to next month's thing that are viable, and then at next month, if we can have a longer term timescale, because genuinely, I want us to do this well. I don't want us to rush it, and I want us to have good officer support on it. And we can only fairly expect that because they've got loads of other things to do, so we've got to have it timed in. So if people are happy with that, are you happy, Mr. Fisher? We've got enough.
Yes, sorry, my brain didn't pick up. Was there a specific ask for another a particular agenda item for November the 9th? Or
Well, of the three I mentioned as urgent, if they're feasible.
okay,
So the one I suppose we could do is an initial look at the task and finish group report on population change, because we've got the report, and you can imagine do
Sure.
something on that, and
Yep.
and then see what other officers can do and give us one more of those other priorities.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. For the outgoing administration, not long before it changed, I actually delivered to this scrutiny committee a presentation on what is mine and a number of colleagues' view of where we are 10 years later.
Fine.
If you would like that as a start,
that would be
happy to
perfect.
bring that back.
Yeah,
next
no,
time.
because then again, I do think obviously the newer members need to have some. Again, they can't ask for things until they know what's in it to ask for them, can they? So